Greetings, this is TmeedYah of ExodusBless.com. We in Tanzania live and direct, broadcasting the truth as to what is going on in this dispensation of time. You check it, 21st century. What is it that we should be doing, planning to do, instituting? These are the questions that we have to ask in the 21st century because the world is moving dynamically in a lot of dimensions in this time. And we have to be on point in our interpretation, in our discernment of precisely what's happening and where we should be positioned as a people right now. In particular, for those of us living in the Western Hemisphere under the influence of liberal democracy and European governments, it's time to begin to take a look. And not just a look, you have to begin taking trips to the continent of Africa to explore your options in this region at this time. Because things are escalating worldwide. Wars are escalating. You know, finances are trembling at this particular time. Finances are trembling. There's a lot of spiritual movement happening in the universe that we need to be aware of on a lot of different levels, you know, economically, socially, and continentally, most importantly, continentally, where people are now shifting to continentally, and why they're shifting to these regions. These are questions that we have to begin to explore because, like I say, things are escalating on this planet in a lot of dimensions that are outside of people's peripheral vision. In particular, those who have been tranquilized by the screen culture that has now immersed the world in evil. So these are some things that we have to really begin to look into on a deep level and subsequently begin to move on a physical level to accomplish, you know, to institute, you know, to make moves, all right? So East Africa is a zone that's very special in the 21st century, in particular for those black people living in exile. East Africa is very special in a lot of different ways. It provides a lot of opportunities and is linked historically with some major events and is also linked prophetically with some major events. So this is a zone that we have to keep our eye on and our foot in. Because the truth of the matter is, the time has come where the inheritance of the black man, the land that he owns, the riches that he owns, are now being given unto him again. And this is something that Europeans have made great attempts to hide the truth that right now is the receiving of riches for the black man, in particular those that return from exile. There's some inheritances being given out at this particular point, some lands, you understand? A lot of wealth is being passed out at this particular point. So we have to be in position to partake of it. You know, it's an exceptional time to be in East Africa at this particular time. An exceptional time on earth, you know. And like I say, in particular for Westerners, Western blacks living in America, I mean, your options are so limited there by European dominance, in particular racial dominance, you know, racially based dominance. Your options are so limited. So it would be worth investing in another country that's more worthwhile and full of blessings and the flexibility that we need. The flexibility that we need to own property, to establish businesses, to raise our families in pristine environments that are free of a lot of the pollutants and toxins that now cover the North American landscape. These are things that we have to consider. Safe environment to raise our children outside of heathen law system zones. Heathen law system zones. We need to be in our own environment where bestiality is not legal as it is in the United States, and other forms of vices that they have legalized and are promoting through their media channels, in curriculum for schools. We cannot survive in that type of environment, you know, and in particular, their food is so full of chemicals that's poisoning the population, both black and white. Chinese, Indian, it doesn't matter who it is. European food has been totally polluted, not only by the agricultural chemicals, but it's been polluted by the packaging chemicals. That's a point people don't often consider. The packaging that food comes in, even if it's a wholesome product, it's oftentimes packaged in a container with carcinogenic substances like dioxin that people are unaware of. You know, people are actually dying from routine products that they purchase themselves, but are unaware of the grotesque consequences of living under the saturated evil of European advertising. You know, that's totally taken advantage, especially of the youth at this particular time, and rendering them evil by default, because it's changing their hormonal patterns, it's changing their behavior patterns, it's changing their psychology in a deep cultural way that's most often irreversible and assumed to be normal. This is high-level sorcery that we have to extract ourselves from, and like I say, place ourselves in an environment that's more organic, sustainable, and a breath of fresh air for us and our children. For instance, land is significantly less expensive to acquire in Africa. Significantly less expensive. And way higher quality land with the opportunity to dig pristine wells for your own private water sources that are free from chemicals. This is very important. A lot of people don't realize this chemical atrazine is in the water supply of the United States. And this is a hormonal imbalancer. It disrupts the endocrine system, which could lead, has been leading actually, to homosexual behavior that we're seeing spiking in America right now. You know, the men there are just on a homosexual rage, and a lot of it is due in part to the ideological dictates and default mindset of European culture. But a lot of it also takes shape in the form of chemical influences, chemical warfare. This chemical atrazine, the #1 pesticide in the United States, the #1 herbicide in the United States, has been in use since 1958. Since 1958. In addition to other pesticides and components that mix with each other, that the doctors are unable to test for the compound effects that these chemicals have on the body. But in isolation, the results are bad enough, because what they're showing is that all vertebrates, you know, including people, are having issues with their hormonal systems being thrown out of balance and actually becoming demasculinized, effeminized, with a host of other effects that we're seeing in a lot of people at this particular time. So we actually can't survive in that environment. It's too many factors that are in opposition to life in the European environment, being governed, like I say, in particular by America, you know, by Europe. You know, they have oppressive laws for black people. They have oppressive laws for black people for 4 centuries. This is nothing hidden. It can be verified quite easily. It's in their own history books that they have written. This is nothing new. This has been actually the modus operandi of Europeans is hack and slash and just basically rape wherever you are and destroy the environment. That's their legacy throughout history, not just in these generations, in multiple forms, you know, chemically, just doggedly, you know, and a lot of other ways, you know. Now they're using nuclear weapons. You know, there's so many different factors how they've polluted the environment and polluted people. And one of the worst ways is culturally. Cultural pollution. The cultural pollution that the European is spilling on this earth at this particular time is wiping people's minds clean. People's culture, they're being swallowed by this European beast because they know how to present it in a very appealing, convincing fashion. You know, these things is actually high-level witchcraft. sorcery being imposed upon the people in this screen culture, and they're unawares. In fact, they enjoy being colonized by electronic media. They fully enjoy it. So the rate that is happening now, people are actually going culturally extinct, in addition to physical extinction and the related co-extinction that's occurring right now. I mean, this is documented fully. So, in essence, the bottom line is beyond just talking about the issues that Europeans have. We need to position ourselves in the right area on this earth geographically. And East Africa has some significant advantages for those of us who are just fed up. 4 centuries have elapsed. We who have seen the truth, have studied, have experienced the sour grapes of the United States, just decide to take a move out the country. It's not even complicated. It's actually quite simple. It's actually sub-thought. It's actually sub-thought. It's not even something that we really have to think about deeply or at length. It's quite easy to make the determination. We're born in a hostile enemy zone. We don't like it. Nothing appears like it's going to change. So I'm returning to the place of my origin. It's quite simple. It's just a matter of going home. We live in exile in the wrong place on the wrong continent with the wrong people trying to govern us. Someone who's not even qualified, who has destroyed the environment, the people and the earth, and polluted it with his toxic culture. It's time to leave that zone. I mean, it's extinctive. It's extinctive. You don't even have to think about it. You're in a hostile territory. Get out of hostile territory back to home ground. It's not complicated. All we have to do is initiate it. It's too late to be talking about it. It's too late to be talking about it. We've seen all the lessons of Malcolm X, and all the things that he said are still true today. So, we're actually behind time. The truth was already spoken, and the way it is that black people have missed the message. That's the bottom line. Black people have missed the message and still idling in exile. It's time to get out of that state, that tranquil state, that domesticated state